I entered a film music competition and won. Here's how I did it. Hello everyone! Thank you for clicking this video. My name is Tom Bennett. I'm a composer and producer, and at the start of this year I entered the IFMC, which is the Indie Film Music Contest, and I ended up winning. And this video is how I did it. I'm going to talk you through a little bit of how I went about orchestrating the score that I wrote to it, the process behind it, and just a window into my brain. Little bit of my background before we start. If you don't want to hear any of this, skip ahead, follow down at the bottom, and you'll be able to find the good stuff, and I won't be offended. I can take it. Little bit of my background. So, I have always loved writing music since I was a youngster. And maybe you're watching this video thinking, well, I also love writing music as well. And I have also loved writing music since I was a youngster. I played violin, piano, and I sang, and I loved to compose as well. And I went on to study music at university, and I studied composition at university, particularly with a bit of a focus on composition for films and media, that sort of stuff, because it's just something that's genuinely fascinated me, and I enjoy doing that sort of stuff. And I know you can think, well, everyone always wants to be a film music composer, and that's incredibly true. And that's something that I discovered whilst I was at university, is actually that this job, this career path, is incredibly competitive, and it's very, very difficult to get a foot into the door. And so I came out of university and I became a music teacher. I ended up teaching piano, violin and singing. I set up my own business. I did a bit of composition on the sidelines, and, my kind of dream of being a film composer sort of just drifted away. And I was, had that hard reality pushed in front of me being like, mate, not everyone gets to do this. But it was at the end of last year, 2023, at Christmas time, just after Christmas, when everyone's thinking, yikes, the new year's coming, and what am I going to do this new year? Shall I think of a resolution or something like that? And I thought, this would be a really great opportunity for me to try and rekindle that passion that I had in university and before, a passion for writing music to film. And so I did a bit of Googling, and I Googled film music compositions, and the search results came up with the IMFC. And they had a few videos that you could watch and then compose to. And I selected a video that I thought was absolutely fantastic. And I went about composing. And it was a really fun process, something that I haven't done for a very long time. As a teacher, I actually do a lot of composing because I am also a director of a couple of kids' choirs. And I write lots of music for the kids because I think it's great that kids take a sense of ownership with the songs that they're singing. And so composing is not something that is new to me, but film composing is always something that has interested me and something that I wanted to explore a bit further. So let's get into what I did. I can show you on my PC my digital audio workstation and the whole timeline, and I'll talk you through everything.
Okay, so this is my DAW, and the first thing you might be thinking is, goodness me, that is a lot of tracks on the left-hand side. And the truth is, it is a lot of tracks, and that's because this is a template for an orchestral library that I use called BBC SO. And BBC SO is, it's an orchestral library that has basically every orchestral instrument you could possibly desire, and it's got a whole array of different techniques of playing all the various instruments, and it's also got like different mic positions and stuff like that, though I've kind of like scratched the surface, I think, on this orchestral library and what it can do, but it's great. It's brilliant, and it's what I've used to compose this. You can get Spitfire Audio's BBC SO as a free version. It's called Discover, and I think it's free, or I think you have to maybe fill in a survey or something like that. And it's a half decent library. For free, I think it's fantastic. And then you can get Core and you can get Pro. So this is what I've used, and I've got the video here, as you can see, and across the top, you can see all these different red markers that I've put in. And the first thing I did before I even played a melody or did anything at all is I watched the video with the audio that came with the video, which was essentially nothing apart from a voiceover at the end and the odd very, very, very small sound effect here and there. So the music in this video plays a massive role because there's no or there's very little spoken narration about what's actually happening. It's visual and it's musical. When you enter the IMFC, you get to choose from 3 different videos, and this one just stood head and shoulders above the other 2. It was just absolutely fantastic, directed by a guy called Phil Beastall, and it's the story of a guy called Chris, and let me show you Chris. Here's Chris, and Chris is counting down the days. Here you go. He's counting down the days to Christmas, and what we see at the very beginning is we see his house, then we see him coming down the stairs, and we see him looking at the calendar, crossing off what's going on at the start of the month of December, coming home, having done some Christmas shopping, setting up his Christmas tree, then doing various bits and bobs around the kitchen. I'm going very fast through this, I know, watching the days go past through December, him glancing always at the calendar. So there is like this sense of anticipation that Christmas is around the corner, and what's he looking forward to in particular? Is it just Christmas Day, or is it something that's going to happen on Christmas Day? And so you sort of pick up, even through just the video, no sound at all. This is what I'm getting through watching, and then we have this present which is under the tree, which is zoomed in on for quite a good amount of time to show that it is of some crucial significance to this short film. And then you have Chris in bed, twiddling his thumbs, obviously thinking about that thing under the tree, that present under the tree, and then he turns off the light, and the next day it's Christmas. So flash to the calendar, and then you have Chris sitting at the table with a box, and we don't know what the box is yet, but he has got some headphones in, and he's about to listen to something, and then the audio then starts, and I'm just going to play no music at all. This is what we have.
Hi Chris, it's Mum. Merry Christmas, Poppet. Another year has passed. I wanted to start this one by saying something I haven't said yet, which is thank you. Thank you for taking the time to remember me. After all these years. I can't believe you're going to be 30 soon. I wish I could be there to see how you've grown, to see what kind of man you've become. I know I would be so proud of you. So this is it, my last tape. I wish I could keep talking to you every Christmas, but it's time to say goodbye. Just remember how much I love you. Never forget that, okay? I will always be your mum. Before I go, let me tell you a story about the happiest day of my life. The day you were born.
And then the credits roll, and that's it. And I just thought, wow, that's such a good video. It's like an emotional hand grenade. It's like, goodness me. It's really, really, really deep. And I just think it's absolutely awesome. And as a composer, and there's no music to this at all, it was just kind of like, this is going to be so much fun. There's just so much that you can do with this. So, hats off to Phil Beastall for making such a fantastic film. But it's like this bit here, because you suddenly realise that, his mum's not with him on Christmas Day, and that's, because she's obviously passed away, or she's not around. I sort of assume that she's passed away, and he's listening to what she's left him for the year. But then you look to the box and you realise that, goodness me, she's been doing this for the past 10 years or so. The last tape there is like from 2005. So it just adds an extra depth, an extra just many layers to this film. Anyway, So the markers here that I put in place that I just mentioned briefly before, the markers are my way of adding notes to the video and what's happening, and it's my way of scripting the video because I've got no script in front of me, and so I can just write things like what have I got here? Chris listening, and then we've got Chris holding Walkman, Chris's face, and then emotional Chris, things like this, things that are just helpful for me to be like, okay, that's something to bear in mind when I'm writing music. And some of these markers are much more significant than others, but most of them have got something to do with the timing of the film and what's happening. And so at the very beginning, there is, when Chris goes outside, that's a change in scene, and that's an opportunity to maybe move the music on or develop the music a little bit. And so what I decided to do with this project was to come up with a series of melodies and a chord structure that reflects the film. And so I had a melody which I call Chris's mum's melody, which is this. Let me just get a piano. Here we go. So that is it. And when it's got accompaniment with it, that's what we got. So it's a really, really simple melody that crops up here and there throughout the duration of the video. I also have at the very beginning, when you're greeted with the first opening scene, which is Chris's house, I have this. And that is quite a familiar melody, I think, because it reminds me of church bells ringing, and there's kind of and church bells ringing I kind of associate with Christmas time. And so that's kind of what I used at the beginning. It's sort of a festive kind of opener that's not kind of like, we wish you a Merry Christmas. It's not too overpowering. It's just a little bit of a reference to, Christmas time and the bells ringing at Christmas. So that happens at the start. And what you see with these two melodies is that they develop slightly or have slightly different chords as the video progresses, in line with what's happening in the film. So let's take a look at the beginning, and I can show you what I did for the first bit. Have a listen. Okay, I'll give it a pause there. So that is the first theme, as we heard at the beginning. And there was also a melody in the cellos, which was playing as well. Da, 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 da. Then we have a slight change in scene, and this is my marker here, which is called... What's it called? It's called Chris Walking Home with Christmas Shopping. So essentially what I've got here in this piece is, this is home, C major scale, nice, easy key to work with. That's what I've done throughout the whole piece, really. And home is the tonic note here, which you can see hopefully on the keyboard here. And it doesn't matter what my right hand is doing, going up to a fourth chord or the fifth chord. My left hand is always playing that C in the bass the whole time, and so there's that familiarity of this is home the whole time. And that's a theme or a technique that I've used for a lot of the film that you see, and so you can hear this. The C here is always there until Chris goes outside, and then he's not home anymore. Going for a little bit of a walk, and then we've got. Then we're on a 4 chord, so we move up to chord number 4, and we have a little bit of a taster of chord number 4 on its own, with that as a strong bass note as well, before coming back to home, coming back to the tonic chord of C once more. And then here we start to see the busyness in Chris's life and the time moving away and him glancing at the calendar the whole time and the suspense of that present that's under the tree. And it's, I didn't just want to stay, here the whole time. And so I developed a little bit and thought, okay, let's play some more exciting chords. And what we have here, from this moment, is a bit of a chord break where we just go a little bit on a holiday, a little bit away from the tonic, which is here. And so what I end up playing is chord number 4, but it's in a first inversion. So instead of just playing an F chord like this, I've now got the second note of the chord of F in the bass, and then I go to chord 5, also in first inversion. That means there's a B in the bass, not the tonic, it's a B. And then I come home for a bit, just touch on the first chord, the tonic of our home chord, and then I play the home chord again, but this time also as a first inversion, then chord number 4. So it ends up sounding like this. No, it doesn't. There's the chord. Cool. So that's the chords that we have. And then that brings us in, because I've got a chord 5 essentially here. I know it's a first inversion of the bass, but it's essentially a perfect cadence, wanting to go home to chord 1. But instead it's a first inversion. And actually it's not a dominant 7th, so I haven't got the F in there because that's just a little bit too, classical, a little bit too heavy, a little bit too harsh. So instead I'm throwing in an A, which is the second note of G major. But it's a 9 really. It's a G major at 9 in first inversion. And so that means taking that B, putting it down there, and then adding the melody note at the top. And it's a nice sort of just open chord that still wants to go home. And then we have home, and that's here. And so that little clip in the middle there that I've just shown you, we've got the same melody happening again. So we've got a recapitulation of. Got that happening again. But we also have, at the beginning, that here is similar. It's kind of ish similar to what we have at the beginning. It's not exactly the same actually. I thought it was the same, but it's not. But what's going on here is I'm using the high notes up here, and so there's kind of like there's nothing heavy going on here because he's lying in bed, and it's kind of like these fragmented notes up here. What was it? And there's a little bit of glockenspiel actually in there somewhere as well. Here we go. Wait. There it is! I knew there was a bit of faithful glockenspiel in there somewhere. Oh, it's so lovely and magical. So it's a little bit, instead of having dun, 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 which is a new melody, I know, it's sort of like a little bit of a response from the glockenspiel. So there we go. And then here we go. He turns off the light, and the music ends a little bit further after that. And I was like, it's not on time. It needs to happen on the marker. It's got to happen on the marker. I lost sleep over that. I didn't really. But it was one of those things that I was kind of like, it's just got to match, hasn't it? Hasn't it just got to be like, bing? That last note of the piano as soon as he clicks off his light switch. And I came to the conclusion that this could drive a composer mad if you kept jumping through hoops the whole time of having to get everything to match absolutely perfectly. And I just came to the conclusion that, it's not going to sound organic and nice and natural if I'm having to speed up the tempo or slow it down or do some other kind of like musical magic to kind of like force everything to happen at exactly the right time. It's not appropriate all the time. It is appropriate to happen on certain occasions, and that's very important, that you don't just have a music track that is not following the film in some way, it's somehow in sync. But I think you could obsess about this a little bit, or one could obsess about this a little bit too much, if you wanted to. And I'm quite comfortable with him turning off the light and the music just being a little bit behind him. That's fine. Then we have here a recapitulation of the first melody that we had at the very start of the film, when we were zooming in on Chris's house. But it's a bit slower, and there's also, see if you are able to spot the clarinet that's playing as well. So there we go. Much softer and much slower. It's a thinner texture that's happening as well. We've still got the piano there, and the piano is sort of keeping the rhythm going. But there is also, as I mentioned, there was a clarinet playing, which is here somewhere. Where are you, clarinet? Aha. There you are. So we have the clarinet playing this. And it just builds up that dynamics. And that's it. That's all it plays. 5 notes. That's it. And it fades out. And it just makes that melody a little bit more interesting, that we have a counter melody happening at the same time. And we also have here, if I look at the brass, there is actually some contra tubas playing. Like, lots of them. Oh, goodness me. They won't thank me for that if this was ever to be performed live. It's a lot of contra tubas. Here we go. Sounds like nothing at the beginning, but it is there. It's almost not worth it, but I was kind of like, you know what? It just gives a little bit of warmth in the belly when you listen to this, and it's just there, just at the back of the mix, to add a little bit of warmth. And then I also have happening in the string section, there is some, I believe there are some tremolando strings as well, which are playing this. There you go. So some very, very gentle tremolo strings as well.
Mum.
And then what happens then is...
Merry Christmas, Poppet. Another year has passed.
No music. And this is something that I was... I was originally not aware of until I kind of thought, actually, maybe I should have no music here. And I think as a composer, it's so easy to just be like, no, everything needs music. Music's the best thing that happened to film. But actually, there's the time where it's good to just get rid of the music altogether. And what happens when the music goes is suddenly, well, I'll play it.
Hi Chris, it's Mum. Merry Christmas, Poppet. Another year has passed. I wanted to start...
I feel like I'm in that room with Chris right next to him. It's like suddenly the warmth of, this lovely backing music, and all this luscious orchestra that's been playing is suddenly gone, and actually we're right there in the room with him. And that was something that I hadn't originally thought of doing until I did it, and I was like, actually, maybe that's appropriate here. And then we have some strings that very, very gently fade in.
Merry Christmas, Poppet. Another year has passed. I wanted to start this one by saying something I haven't said yet, which is thank you. Thank you for taking the time to remember me.
And then the piano comes in with that melody that we know. And the strings here, and this is what I found nice about this orchestral library, is I'm using something called long harmonics. And could have used, just a regular legato. I mean, that sounds lovely. Legato sounds awesome. But in this occasion, the long harmonics here, they're just a bit more, it's a bit more grainy. Listen. Kind of feel there's just a lot of appropriate character for this scene. So those long harmonics in the strings fade in, and then we have the piano, which plays the familiar melody.
I can't believe you're going to be 30 soon. I wish I could be there to see how you've grown, to see what kind of man you've become.
So there we go. And what happens with the melody here in the piano is... absolutely nothing. But what happens in the accompaniment is a bit different. I've got my tonic chord, my lovely home chord here. And, I used to have chord 4 with the home tonic in the bass. But this time, we've still got the home tonic in the bass, but the chord 4 has now become minor chord number 4 with an added 6 in there. So we end up with... And the other thing is, there's no low notes happening here. It's all... And then I'm back to the home chord of C. So, it's just a slight variation that's happening there with the chords. Same melody, but it's just a slight development. So just makes it, and this is not a new chord progression. Chord 1 to chord 4 as a minor. It's as old as music. But there you go. But it works appropriately here. Let's keep watching.
I wish I could be there to see how you've grown, to see what kind of man you've become. I know I would be so proud of you. So this is it, my last tape. I wish I could keep talking to you every Christmas, but it's time to say goodbye. Just remember how much I love you. Never forget that, okay? I will always be your mum. Before I go, let me tell you a story about the happiest day of my life. The day you were born.
Credits roll, familiar melody comes in with that minor 4th. Again, there's a horn solo as well, and there's a little bit more warmth that then comes here towards the end. So what happens as well is There's then a development here, and I have these chords. And what's happening there is I'm playing chord 6. I'm then playing chord 4 again as a minor, but in a first inversion, which means, you know, my chord 4 as a minor is here, but as a first inversion it means putting an A flat in the bass. So I've gone from chord 6 as a minor to chord minor 4, first inversion, and then I come home again, but I'm not really home, because although I'm playing the triad of home, which is C, I'm playing a second inversion, so I'm playing a G in the bass. And because we've gone do, do, do in the bass, I was like, let's keep going do, do, and just see what happens. So we've got chord 6, chord 4, minor, first inversion, chord 1, second inversion. Now we've got chord 2 as a major, first inversion, so that would be D major with an F sharp in the bass. And then we have chord 4 as a minor again. And we go to chord 1. And when that's put together, it sounds like this. There's a bit of a wait before then coming in with that familiar melody again. So, yeah, that's largely it. That's largely what I did. And, you know, the orchestration here, which I haven't talked a lot about, is largely strings. There's a lot of strings going on, apart from in the middle, I suppose. Percussion. I used, a cymbal at the beginning, just to bring that in, and that's it. Nothing more than a cymbal. The triangle was quite interesting here, an instrument I wouldn't normally use, but it just adds a little bit of, ooh, surprise, or something's happening here. And the same here when the lamp, sorry, this is the triangle track here. Here we go. Bing! There we go. A bit of glockenspiel, which I mentioned before, and the tubular bells. You could just hear them ringing. And it just adds a little bit more of a Christmassy element to the mix. There is a Celeste as well, which is going on. There you go. It just echoes a bit of it, just thickens out the melody bit, and the harp is literally just for a glissando. There we go. And it just, you know, gives a bit of warmth towards, a bit of anticipation towards this chord. That one there. So just there you go. Just makes it a little bit more like warm and like, yeah, there we go. It's Christmas, isn't that nice? Couple of trombones happening here. Contratubas, which I mentioned. Horns, as I mentioned towards the end of the piece, which is here. There is a horn melody. So the horns just add another counter melody just to make this, you know, a little bit more exciting. Because a familiar melody can become over-familiar, I think, if it's all you keep hearing. And adding a counter melody can just make that a little bit more exciting without being like, let's just scrap the melody altogether, just get rid of it. So yeah, there you go. That was fun. Well, it was fun for me. You may have been sitting there like, when's this going to finish? Oh, no, you might have done that because this is YouTube and you would have just moved on to the next video by now. That's what I would have done. Thanks for watching. I hope this has been fun for you. Please feel free to leave a comment, ask me some questions, and do me a favour. Please like, comment on this video, click subscribe, because I will be posting more videos in the future. And yeah, I'll see you next time.